Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to Women in GIS's April 2024 Lightning Talks. These Lightning Talks are brought to you by the Professional Development Committee in Women in GIS. Happy April. Women in GIS is an international organization. So basically, we're an inclusive group of women and allies who come together to provide support and opportunities for success in your geospatial careers. Everyone is welcome here. I am your host, Madison Bradford. I'm a data scientist for the town of Gilbert, Arizona, Office of Economic Development. And I'm also a member of the Women in GIS Professional Education Committee. We have a fantastic round of speakers today, so I'm really excited to welcome you all here. Our topic for this lightning talk will be disaster management. We do these talks every Friday on the first Friday of the month. So you can always tune in for a different topic, or you can be a speaker for multiple topics if you wish. I'm going to start off by thanking our sponsors. So here are our gold sponsors. We have Esri, Bad Elf, and Embedded Alliance. Our sponsors support us so we can host lightning talks like this and get the resources to create workshops for women in GIS and also keep us connected and keep us running as a volunteer organization. We have additional sponsors that are gold and silver. Here's all of them here. Some of our new ones include DRT Strategies and OSA. Here's our speaker lineup for today. Bianca and Hamda could not join us this morning, but we will start off with the presentation from Alaina Ellis, who will be teaching us about how to use Arcade for calculating building damage value. And then we will have Karen Wigglesworth. So Karen will tell us about profiles in Peril, and we'll end up with Swati Grover, who will give a little bit of a lightning talk on forest fire management and mitigation in India. So to start, before Alaina begins, a little bit about Alaina. So Alaina is a geospatial solutions analyst with Interdev. She mainly focuses on projects with local level municipalities for leveraging GIS for all departments and tasks. Alaina has a special interest in environmental GIS. So with that, Alaina, you are feel free to share your screen and begin your presentation.
Awesome, thank you so much. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Let me know when everyone's able to see that.
I can see it.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm Alaina Ellis. I'm a geospatial analyst out of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm very excited to talk to everyone today about some solutions for natural disaster reporting using specifically Arcade and Esri Smartforms. So today I'll be discussing some of the challenges that I ran into in creating a web solution for natural disaster damage reports for a municipality in Florida to use during hurricane season. The first challenge, I'll go ahead and go to the slide. The first challenge that I ran into was calculating the building value of properties that saw natural disaster damage. So we ended up using a mixture of arcade functions like intersect for finding the closest address and math equations were able to calculate the estimated building value after a natural disaster event. The calculations involve the level of severity that is inputted by field workers and tax assessor information that's usually hosted in parcel data. Something I would like to note here with this particular case is that we had to use a mixture of address point data and parcel data, and that was due to a large portion of the parcels in this municipality overlapping with one another. So in areas that you don't have a significant amount of parcel geometry overlap, you probably would not need to bring in any kind of address point data specifically. Also, I included here at the bottom the damage severity level effect in the percentage. This ranges from level 1, which is affected, which would equal 20%, to a level 4 damage, meaning completely destroyed, equaling 80%. Because this is just an estimation value, I believe it's best to include an additional field in the form for users to input on a different value, just in case the field value, or just in case in the field they see reasons that the estimated value calculated here may not be as accurate. For example, they may mark a level 1 being affected when in actuality it's just a couple of shingles on a roof being taken out. They may not actually equal 20% of the building value, and they may have to input a different number. Something else to include, and the second challenge that we ran into in this project, was that some of the areas didn't have addresses associated to a parcel, or there was damage on a very large plot of land where including the address may not just be enough. I decided to include a latitude and longitude calculation that could be used, and shown here is a basic calculation of latitude and longitude that returns in one simple string value. And so finally, this is what it all comes together as, and here's an example of what users can see. This is just an example using Experience Builder with the Edit widget. The same format of the smart form could be seen as well in field maps if users are using mobile devices. When a point is placed on a map, the smart form created will automatically open up, and the calculated fields will be auto-populated using the arcade functions on the back end. For the estimated value field that I discussed earlier, the field will automatically populate using the building value from the tax assessor's information that was pulled in. But once a severity level is assigned, it'll automatically recalculate, taking into account that new information. This is meant to make the job of field workers just much easier without having to input a bunch of data that they may not have at the moment, as well as more accurate data capture. Field workers don't usually walk around with tax assessor information on them on hand. So I wanted to make this not as daunting to non-GIS users, and to hopefully encourage more use among field workers later on. In my experience, if I give a long list of things to capture, including building value, as daunting as it is for field workers, is not likely to be used long-term for that solution. And so, nice, quick, and easy. Just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. Also, if anyone would like any copies of the arcade functions that I spoke about today, or some of the other ones that I used for calculating closest addresses and mobile home community information as well, let me know. I'm always happy to share what I've learned and send out as many copies as anyone would like. So yeah, that's all I have. I'll stop sharing my screen real quick.
Thank you so much, Alaina. That's a really powerful use for arcade. It really is, and it's fantastic that you're willing to share some of your code.
100%. We all do better when everyone shares their work. 100%.
Oh, I love that. That's such a spirit of the GIS community. That's amazing. And I like how you also consider like the user so much, because a lot of people, we love GIS, we get lost in the technical details, and I love that you built an application that caters more to the people who actually be using it. That is fantastic.
Thanks.
So any questions for Alaina, you can put in the chat, and at the end of all of the lightning talks, we will have a Q&A session. So feel free to add questions to the chat anytime, and I'll make sure to moderate that, or you can also ask questions on the fly at the end. So thank you again, Alaina.
Thanks.
So our next presenter will be Karen Wigglesworth. She'll be telling us about Profile in Peril. So a little bit about Karen. Karen is a senior account executive with Esri's public safety team, serving state and local government. She is passionate about the power of GIS and the women who inspire us. So thank you so much for joining us, Karen. You're up.
Hey, thank you so much. Let me see if I can get this up on the screen here. So I thought today, instead of talking about what I'm doing specifically, I wanted to highlight the work of some women who are doing great work in GIS and emergency management. So I wanted to talk about some great work being done by women in disaster management or emergency management, as I tend to think of it. And there's a lot that we could talk about. There's a lot of great work being done by women all across the board FEMA has their first female administrator. Our very own Carrie Speranza here at Esri is our Director of Emergency Management Operations Solutions, and she's also the first female National Advisory Council Chair. There's a lot of good information out there about other work being done in counties and cities and regional organizations as well. So you can find articles in GovTech and of course through Esri. There are a lot of blog posts available about work being done. When we think of emergency management here at Esri, we tend to think of it in these four key areas of the emergency management life cycle: preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery, just to give this a little context. And so the women I'm going to talk about today are doing great work in all of those areas, but in particular in preparedness and mitigation and response. And I've wanted to talk a little bit about one of our very own, Shelby Hines, who I've had the pleasure of working with for many years in more than one technical capacity. And Shelby has always been passionate about the mitigation planning process. Before coming to Esri, she worked for FEMA Region 8 for a number of years and was involved in the process there, reviewing the plans. And prior to that, she worked as a consultant, actually writing the plans for folks. So this is Shelby's contact information in case anyone wants to reach out to her later. Shelby has helped me understand what that hazard mitigation planning program is from FEMA. If you are not familiar, it's really all about where the hazards and the assets overlap to identify where risk has been created. And it's a 5-year process for updates on those plans. 2/3 of the country happens to participate, and this is how everyone gets their grant funding. So anyway, what I was trying to say is, we'll skip on by to Shelby. You all can see this now. This is Shelby's contact information. I do have a PDF of my presentation that I will drop in the chat later so that you have that in the slides. Anyway, Shelby has really helped me understand what the hazard mitigation process is all about. And she's always been very passionate about taking that information and putting it into a digital format. When she came to Esri, she envisioned being able to do that with ArcGIS Hub. So she's been helping other customers do that in her current role as an advisor and a consultant in our professional services department. And it's certainly an interesting way to share that. She's always pointed out that FEMA doesn't specify a format for those hazard mitigation plan submittals. So she thinks that folks could, if they wanted to, submit that as a hub site. We certainly have folks who are using those hub sites now for things like getting feedback from the public during that planning process, for having improved sharing and collaboration with their constituents as well, for offering a format other than a 600-page PDF document. You could certainly include that in the hub site for download, but there are a lot of other pieces of information that you could provide in a more digestible format. And these are some of the folks that I know are actively doing that. Florida has stood up their own hub site where you can see their 2023 mitigation plan. Shelby's actively working with state of Virginia and state of Delaware on doing the same. Virginia should be going public very soon, and Delaware is in the works. And I recently had the pleasure of having a conversation with Valerie Decio from the Eau Claire County, Wisconsin Emergency Management Department, and she's doing some really interesting work there as well. So she has created a dashboard, a hazard dashboard that is public facing for the county that got some press recently through GovTech. There's an article out there that you can go and read. And it's got a lot of this information that is important to Eau Claire County, like the weather outlook, the floods, the fires, and then those historical weather events. It's a big issue for them in the county, and they're trying to find better ways to provide that information, not only to the folks engaged in emergency management, but also to their constituents. And she's seeing real value with that dashboard for situational awareness and sharing that information with the public in a meaningful way. And then they're also able to run scenarios for preparedness. She's planning some enhancements to that dashboard as well, including creating a hub site for their hazard mitigation plan and then putting that dashboard in it. And this is a glimpse into what she currently has in those dashboards, including the flood outlook. And something interesting about that is they've got the river gauges in this map, and they are color-coded based on the current risk. So it's a way for folks to have a quick view into what is happening in the area in terms of flooding and what the risk might be for where they live. And then those historical weather events are definitely of value for analysis for planning and assessing future risk, looking at things like the path of tornadoes, where they've had hailstorms and other weather events. And Linda Slattery is someone I've been able to work with in the last couple of years in my role here at Esri, and she's pretty amazing. She is a one-woman shop in the Ohio Department of Public Safety in their emergency management agency, and she's been doing some great work all by herself there for a number of years, and they have some really interesting resources that she's created using both ArcGIS dashboards and Experience Builder. And she's created a product called Ohio Sentry. So it's both internal and public facing. A lot of it is available to constituents, but there are a few areas of that site that require a login that are designed to be used by the county emergency managers and also the state watch office. So that includes all of this information that you see in this list here, everything from hazard awareness tools to information on community lifelines and historical events. And I'm sure everyone is aware of the solar eclipse that is happening in 3 days. It's going to affect a large part of the country. Ohio is expecting large crowds for that. So the emergency management agencies have definitely been preparing for that. And in terms of value of her dashboards, she says she doesn't like the term one-stop shop, but really that's what it is for those county emergency managers and the watch office, so that they have access to very important information and can understand critical infrastructure exposure and have that situational awareness for everyone. So here's a quick view into some of those tools available in that Eclipse dashboard that they're going to be using in the next few days here. And they've had some major weather events prior to the eclipse, like tornadoes and flooding. So they're definitely keeping an eye on that. And this dashboard includes everything from the emergency services information to the power outages, to the weather. You can see the live weather feeds. And I found it particularly interesting to be able to compare the map of the event attendance with the map of which EOCs we're planning to activate and at what level. You can kind of see where those things align or perhaps do not. So I thought it was really interesting to see how folks are taking the technology and using it and really doing some great things in emergency management. And that's all I had to.
Thank you so much, Karen. What a wonderful way to highlight projects done by women. That is fantastic. And all of those, it really shows the power of Esri technology too, in a way that you can do, there's all kinds of use cases you can use it for, and that public safety is a big one, especially when it comes to disaster management. And it just so happens that the eclipse, that's really good timing that there's an entire application designed to mitigate risk around the eclipse. I think a lot of people don't realize that eclipses are not only very cool to see and an amazing sight, but also there's risks associated with the effects of the eclipse, with crowds and all that. So thank you very much for highlighting those projects. Okay, so our next presenter is actually also a member of the Professional Development Committee, Swati Grover. She will be giving a talk on forest fire management and mitigation in India. So Swati is director and co-founder of the Disaster Resilience and Research Foundation. So Swati, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. I'll just share my screen. Just give me a sec. Just a second.
No problem. We have plenty of time.
Sorry, my laptop is giving me some.
No problem.
Yes.
Now remember, if anyone has questions for the Q&A at the end, just leave them in the chat as we go, and just say who your question is directed to.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Um, Today I would be speaking on forest fire management and mitigation in India. I'll just give you there are many slides over here, but I will just glimpse through the major ones, giving you an idea of how India is actually taking care, mitigating forest fires, because forest fire is a big issue in India at this moment. And we also know globally, US also faces a lot of forest fires, in especially in the western coast, I think, if I'm not wrong. You can please correct me, because I'm not from US, so you can please guide me on that. But yes, we have heard a lot of fires from US as well, globally, from Canada and many other places across the globe. And India, in the past 1 decade, it has been actually been affected, being victimized by the extreme heat conditions in India, and the forest fire has been extreme at a very, very extreme level. So I'll just take you through the glimpse of the major causes what forest fire, So as we all know, the forest fire has been a major cause for degradation, for especially for India's forest. And the forest fire has been in a controlled and uncontrolled profound impacts, majorly on the physical environment, including land cover, land use, biodiversity, climate change, and forest ecosystems. So they also have an enormous implication on the health, human health, and on the socio-economic system as well. And if you see, India has been, most of the forest fire in India occur as they are more of the anthropogenic in nature. And out of 33 states of India, 23 states are affected by fire, and the major highly affected states are just mentioned. There are 10 states which are mentioned over here, which are highly affected, specifically with the ecology, the ecosystem and the ecology, the biodiversity. They are very, very badly impacted. So you can see the forest cover. It is like 21% of the geographical area of India is covered by forest. And among this 21.7%, out of this, 54% of forest in India are exposed to occasional fires, and around 8% to moderately frequent fires which occurs, and around 2.5%, have the incident levels of forest fires in India. And whatever it is, they have, while 21.7% of this whole forest cover in India, you can imagine the amount of area which it covers, and it is impacted by the forest fire in India. So remote sensing has been playing a major role in mitigating forest fire in India. I'm not going into the details of this. Just quickly, but what are the questions which remote sensing can answer is the pre and post burn conditions. What are the types? What are the socio-economic? We all are aware. These are the various questions which are, remote sensing can answer, and how it is impacting the land use, and how it can improve the fire response measures. So what I would like to show you actually is the Forest Survey of India is actually monitoring forest fires through the remote sensing platform in these three specific areas, how they are actually measuring all the precondition mapping, active fire tracking, and post-burn severity mapping. And they have a live real-time dashboard and platforms where they are actually using two sensors, MODIS and SNPP VIRS, which are the two important sensors which have been very useful for in studying and giving high alerts to the nation about where the forest fire has occurred. So this is just a glimpse quickly. So we all know that the AVHR, MODIS, and IRS AVIF's data, which is being used very for this studies for especially for the forest fires in India, and the data has been used for active surveillance, and they have been very useful for fire monitoring, management, damage and assessment. So I'll just take you quickly through. So this you can see a data which is showing a MODIS image of the fire impact, the alert, and this is the data was provided in all the for all the parts of the country, and every 6 hours the data is updated in the at the forest survey of India, the agency which is actually taking care of it. So this is an Indian remote sensing satellite which is showing the AVIS data, which is showing about the active areas and the burnt areas. This is the forest fire locations which are detected, via MODIS and SNP for the last 1 decade. You can see the data for different states, that is for the 30 states across, where majorly the impact is, and the data has been collected for via MODIS as well as SNP. And the Forest Survey Agency of India, which actually has the real-time system known as near real-time forest monitoring system, large forest fire monitoring system, and One Agni geoportal, which gives you the data on a daily basis. Every 6 hours the data is updated. And I'll just quickly, this is the dashboard for the flowchart dashboard for the near real-time forest fire monitoring system, where the data is collected, information is collected via MODIS and SNP, and then it is transferred to the data processing center, and accordingly they send the data information around to all these states. And since Forest Survey of India is located at one location, but all the 36 states have the state departments where the alert goes on a regular basis, on a daily basis rather, I should say. So this is the dashboard of the live monitoring system, where the fire alert system is carried out. Data is disseminated for MODIS, SNPP, everything. It is on a daily basis, it happens. So you can imagine on a daily basis, if you see, and for this whole system, all the states have to register to the main geoportal, and from there they on a regular basis they get all the alerts. So there are 5 top states which actually fire alerts, where this is the latest data. This is about 20 days back. This data was picked up for all these 5 states. And if you can see this is a maps which shows the hotspots detected by MODIS data and the SNPP data. And then we have this large forest fire monitoring system, which is another very big, very largely large program for forest fire monitoring. This program uses around the SNPP sensor, which has about 375 meter into 375 meter resolution, and it detects these. Each pixel area is like 375 meter into 375 meter, and the application identifies candidly a large fire through an automated algorithm which is developed, and which identifies a large fire compromising at least three continuous VIRS pixels, in any geometry. You can see the four types of geometry, how the three pixels are, the geometric pixels are picked up, and based on that, the fire alerts are sent out. So these are the basis of of carrying out the large forest fire monitoring. And this program can scan the area for additional 3 days on a regular basis, and it can give us an idea from inactivity to detecting dormant fires as well. So the objective of this program, which is this large forest fire monitoring, is continuous monitoring and tracking the large forest areas basically in a real time system. And it timely contains giving information to all the state departments as well, and escalating all the alerts to higher level for timely additional support from the different agencies uh, across the country, even through the defense forces as well, and the public safety departments as well. And developing a national large forest fire database for future planning, especially when in developing state crisis disaster management plans and working plans, and also preparing plans for restoration programs of the burnt area. So this program has been successful till now, and it's very successful. And this is the data validation by Google Earth Engine for an area in Uttarakhand. This is an Uttarakhand area, which is in the Himalayas, where every year there is a forest fire, because we have large dense forest in this part of the state. Um, these are some snapshots. So you can see the methodology which they have adopted for large forest fire, using those pixel algorithm. They have tried to identify the areas. So this is the dashboard of the large forest fire monitoring program. And the third is the One Agni geoportal. One Agni means one is the forest. The word One Agni is in Hindi, the national language of India. One is forest, Agni is fire, and geoportal. So they have given the name One Agni, which gives you the complete information about where the forest fire, with which data you can capture the information, all the data you can actually download. Just give me a second. Sorry. So you can see the entire, there is a catalog of, which area is, having active fire, all the platforms, how the danger rating has been detected. All the information is there in this particular portal, which has been so successful since 2019. So this has been one of the major modes of, giving alerts to across the nation to all the authorities whenever a forest fire occurs. So So these are the two alert systems for prediction. With one is the forest fire danger rating system and the pre-fire alert system. So this forest fire danger rating system is based on the Canadian fire danger rating system model. So they have adopted this particular model for developing this prediction method. And this is the flow chart, how the information is collected and then it is sent out for the FFDR, which is uploaded on the one portal, on the Geo portal. So these are the maps of the FFDRS and pre-alert systems. Then post-fire assessment is also done by assessing the different index ratios. This is an example of the burnt area of Bandhavgarh National Park in Madhya Pradesh. This is one of the states, one of the biggest states. And this is how they have, they assess. This is another example of that same area with list 3 data. Then this is a normalized burn ratio data, which is being used as a key tool for assessing the damage assessment. So, and the optical satellite imageries are being used for assessing the monitoring vegetation recovery in the burnt areas, how it will progress. And then now they are also using different inputs and latest advanced technologies for fuel mapping as well. And then they are also using, they are monitoring these smoke plume monitoring, and the air quality assessment has been also been a major thing. And here we have used spot image. They have just used spot image. And this is the final forest survey dashboards, where it is a live portal over here. You can go to, anybody who wants to look at this portal can just go to the Forest Survey of India, and there you can just go onto this live portal out there, and you can get all the information for the last 6 hours, where the alerts have been sent out, where the forest and now since in the summer season in India has begun, and especially from the last week of March till June, it is the extreme heat conditions prevail in India, and especially in Uttarakhand area, where the forest fire occurrence is very frequent. So you can see these are the fire prone class map of India. And as I said, on a daily basis, like in a single year, around 69 to 70,000 fire alerts have been reported by the MODIS data, and around 5 lakh fire alerts through SNP VIRS data has been reported. So this is this last year's data, and till now also majorly around thousands of fire alerts have been already given since it's just 3 months we have been into 2024. So this you can see, this is the 2024, 23, 24 fire alert stats for the top 5. And just quickly giving you an example of a few major forest fires in India. One is the Uttarakhand forest fire. This is the actual picture of how the forest fire, was in a real scenario. So this was 2016, which was the major biggest forest fire happened in Uttarakhand almost 8-9 years back, and it was between April and May. And as I said, these are the extreme heat condition summers we have, and this year also we are predicting there's already been an alert in India that heat wave is going to be in extreme condition. It has already started. So we have to really be taking more precautions, especially at this moment in India. So these are the some data facts of Uttarakhand. You can see the locations of the forest fire. This is the state. Um, this is all data which I have for 2016. So, and this is another Bandipur Tiger Reserve forest fire, which happened in February 2019. This was also another very, very major forest fire which occurred. And this was in Karnataka, one of the another important state of India, where we have our National Remote Sensing Agency, ISRO, is located. So they were able to identify all the burnt areas, and they were be able to do with all different data sets. They were able to, report the damage caused due to forest fire. And you can see this different data sets which was used for analysis purpose, assessing the damage. And this is another Dibru-Saikova National Park, which is another dense forest area in eastern part of India, which is in Assam, which is also another hilly area where we have a lot of dense forest. And which was, there was a oil well also near that national park, which actually was one of the reasons, where the fire actually aggravated. So you can see these are some snapshots of that. This is the damage which occurred due to that forest fire. And this is fire in the Sariska Tiger Reserve. So mostly if you see in India, majorly all the big national parks we have, they're all very densely, which are, densely populated, vegetation cover is there. And they are the ones where actually you will find major fire occurrence happen. And and they are all in the in the areas, in the zones where the climatic conditions are extreme, at a very extreme level. So they are the one of the warmest regions of the country where these national parks are located, and where these very frequent occurrence of forest fire happens. So these are some benefits of remote sensing for forest management and mitigation purpose. I'm not just going through this because we have less time. So if anybody has any questions, I can. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madison.
Thank you, Swati. I had no idea about that over 50% of India was affected by forest fires. That is a massive amount of acreage.
Yes. Sorry for this rush of presentation because we just had a limited time and I just pitched in the last minute to be part on this. So.
No, that was fantastic. That was extremely insightful, and thank you very much for sharing. Thank you. So that's our last presenter. Now we're going to move on to Q&A. So I don't actually see any questions in the chat there. Feel free to ask anytime and I can read them out for you, or you can unmute and interrupt me, or else I won't stop talking, okay? But I do have some questions prepared for our speakers. Oh, wait, we have one in the chat. We'll start with that one. Okay, so just making sure, Alaina and Karen, are you still with us?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so we have one question in the chat from Katie Walker. So is the VIIRS data only used for visual identification of fire/smoke, or is there further analysis? I think this is directed towards Swati.
Frankly speaking, in India it is being used only for the forest fires at the moment. It has been used for other application areas as well. I am not much aware about it, but yes, for forest fire, definitely yes. I
Awesome. Thank
haven't
you,
worked
Swati.
much on with this data, so I can't. I don't want to give you any hopes on that. So
I bet there's always a data source for everything. So thank
yeah.
you for that insight, Swati. Okay, and so there's another question. I have some questions myself directed for all the presenters, but we can always start with Alaina. So we can start with Alaina for this one. What lessons have you learned from past disasters that have influenced your approach to GIS disaster management?
Yeah, so some of the situations that we ran into was always saying, well, next time this rolls around, we're going to be way more prepared. And then, of course, other things fall on your plate, and it always just keeps getting put to the back burner and hoping that, because natural disasters are happening more and more frequently every day. So you always kind of just hope you are going to be more prepared. I will say the lesson that I've learned is to learn from your mistakes really early on. And honestly, if you're able to, just go ahead and implement the new changes because you never really know when the next natural disaster is going to happen in your area and when you're going to have to be full, all hands on deck for everything.
Yeah, that sounds like really good advice. I mean, there's always something else to do. There's always another innovation we want to implement, but our current workload never is getting any less. I feel like that's common across different GIS specialties. So I think that is really good advice. Just go ahead and try to implement a new solution, even if you're pressed on time, just to make sure that when a disaster, which is completely unpredictable, happens, that you have something that might be helpful to mitigate it. So
Yeah.
Karen, do you have any lessons learned?
Not necessarily a lessons learned, but I certainly learned a lot in researching this and interviewing the women that I was able to speak to about the work that they're doing in disaster management. I would say, I suppose if you want to think of something as a lesson learned, what I learned from all of them is being prepared before something happens is the best approach.
Yeah, that is a great approach. You always want to have some systems or monitoring systems in place before disaster strikes so that you're not scrambling when it does. That's a really good lesson there. Swati, do you have any particular lessons?
Yeah, I would say that, let me take an example of India itself. India always faces different types of disasters all through the year. Earthquakes are also quite frequent. Uh, During the rainy season, we have floods. Major part of, India, 50% to 60% of India is affected by floods, and not the floods coming from the riverside, but also from there are a lot of urban floods as well. These are new things which are coming up, and forest fire definitely, which is another alert area for India to manage that. So when I talk about urban floods, like we never, this was the case like last year only. We never faced urban floods in Delhi, which is the capital city of India. And since there is so much of development happening, the cities are expanding. Uh, that actually leads to the urban floods, even if there is a little heavy rainfall also. The water levels in the rivers, in the river embankment, are rising. Everything is happening. So this is every year this news, some new things are coming up, but at the same time we are trying to manage, we are trying to mitigate, we are trying to be prepared with using the new technologies which are coming up. There has been so much of innovations and so much of technology development is happening. Every 2 months, you can find so much of innovations happening. And nowadays, you can even, the the kind of data is available to us, which can be used for analyzing. So I think with that kind of information available to us, with that kind of new technologies coming in, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and there's so many other technologies like LiDAR data coming in, drone data coming in, which was not available few years back, but now they are available. So I think with this kind of information coming with to us, knowing what type of disasters we have been facing in the past. So the states, the departments, the towns, the municipal commissioners and everyone, they can be prepared beforehand with all this data information available, what could be predicted. Like I can say that as I mentioned, the heat wave is an alert which has already been there in India for quite some time, for the last 1 month, because this information, this analysis, this kind of data, these data were available to the meteorological department of India. So they were able to, give out this heat wave alert quite early this year. So everybody is prepared, how to travel, how to move out, because it's really going to affect. And this year is going to be in a very, very extreme conditions in India, especially with regard to heat wave. And you can imagine this heat wave, extreme heat wave condition can also lead to, different kinds of disasters, drought, forest fires, lack of water. There's going to be so many things happening around. So yes, definitely the lessons are, when information is there, let's start preparing ourselves, equipping ourselves for a better way.
Thank you, Swati. That's great information. I think one thing you mentioned that really stuck with me was how quickly technology is evolving around these things, the technologies we use for disaster management, as well as the data, as you mentioned. There's all kinds, like every day, there's something new in the data world that can help with workflows we already have in place, which connects perfectly to the last question I have for our speakers. I was hoping y'all could share a little bit of insight into how technology has evolved over the years, related to disaster management, whether that's through things you're doing on your own, like did you transition from one technology to another, one kind of data to another kind of data, or things you have seen in disaster management as well?
So I will say this is for a different municipality than the one I showed today, but they're currently switching from everything being either written down on notebook, like piece of paper, to like putting things in Excel, and they're switching to fully using field maps. And while I sometimes think that field maps can still be a baby step for people to really get into GIS, that's still a huge step for people that have never even seen GIS, let alone I'm going from writing it down to now I have to use this app and things like that. I'm super impressed whenever anybody takes that leap of faith. I think it's amazing. And I think it really shows that while as GIS users and people that do it every day, it may seem like a very small step, even the little ones can have a huge impact for municipalities or any kind of level of organization. There's also a lot of amazing information coming out from Esri using AI tools, which I think will also have a huge impact on not just natural disaster reporting, but every aspect of GIS, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like the way you put it. Like what seems like a small step to like a seasoned GIS user is a huge step for a different group of people, but then every step matters, especially when it comes to disaster management, because making something even a little bit more efficient, and in the case you mentioned, a lot more efficient from actually writing down to using an app, that is a big step. But every little thing matters when you're trying to deal with something that could affect people's lives. So that's a really
100%.
interesting perspective. Karen, have you seen anything do you have any opinion on things you've seen people doing with technology transitions? Do you know anyone that's made a big step, as Alaina put it?
Absolutely. I mean, Alaina already called it out. I see a lot of people in Madison who are transitioning from those pen and paper workflows to something more interactive, something digital, not just static PDFs or paper maps. And I think doing things like taking those hazard mitigation plans and putting them in a hub format is huge. You can still include the PDF if someone wants that format and wants to download it, but there's a lot that you can do to make the information easier to navigate and provide those interactive maps and other resources that you can link to. And those dashboards that we're really starting to see, whether they are internal or public facing, I think are also a big deal. Not everyone has those. And Alaina mentioned field maps. I'm also seeing a lot of use of Survey 123 for things like collecting public input or damage assessment tools and that sort of thing. So I'd say there have been a lot of changes in the way that people are approaching it, and we're seeing that more and more with cities and counties and states here in the U.S.
Yeah, I feel like you see a new dashboard every day. I think that is one of those really effective ways people are communicating data. And it looks like they're doing that as well pretty heavily in disaster management. So that is awesome. I mean, we have 1 minute left, Swati, if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, just, no, I agree with Alaina and Karen because yes, digital platforms are definitely making a pave through through the advancement of mitigating all these disasters, and especially if you see the rescue operations or in the disaster affected area has become more better than what it used to be earlier. Today we have technologies like drone, and where the areas where we can't even reach, the technology like drone getting us the information and reaching out to those areas, to rescue people or rescue anyone. The rescue operations have become much, much better. Definitely technology is making a difference, definitely. And we know that
Yeah.
every month there is a new thing which comes up, how a new data can be captured, and how how a new tool is devised. Innovations are being there across the world, so I'm sure there are a lot of advancements are happening across. Yeah.
That's a good way to sum up all of these lightning talks. Innovation is happening in disaster management at an amazing speed, from arcade use cases to dashboards, to one man bands doing it all on their own in different municipalities. So I think it's really impressive. Well, that wraps up all the time we have, a little bit over there. I just want to thank everyone so much for attending. I want to thank our speakers so much for providing, all of their valuable insight into disaster management and the kinds of workflows they've seen or worked on, and the ways that, they're basically helping move the field forward. So thank you so much for that. Next month, our topic will be transportation. So remember, anyone can present as many times as they want. Anyone is allowed to present, even if they are not an official member of Women in GIS. This video will actually be posted onto our YouTube channel afterwards. So speakers, make sure to look out for that. And then, we'll see you all next month, 3rd May. Thanks so much for attending.
Thank you. Thank you, Alaina and Karen. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.